Welcome, Starfinders. My name is Cody, and this is Taking 20, a channel about all things role-playing games. And today I wanted to make a quick review and walkthrough for the new Starfinder release, Pact Worlds. So, let's get started. Okay, so Pact Worlds comes in at a solid 215 pages, which I think is just about the sweet spot for a book like this. Excluding a few pages at the beginning, we get four main sections here in Pact Worlds. The first is a section called The Worlds, which gives us a bit of an overview for each of the Pact Worlds, along with a brand new theme for each as well. The next section is Starships. The third section is called Supporting Cast, which gives game masters some new NPC stat blocks to play around with. And finally, the last section is for new player options. Let's start off by talking a bit about the World section. In my opinion, this section is done just about perfectly. This is really the main draw for the book for game masters and players interested in understanding more of the core setting of Starfinder and the Pact Worlds. And the information presented within is not too big to digest, which is really important for me when I am doing any type of game prep. Each section follows the same sort of routine when presenting information on the planet that gives us a sort of history or vibe about the places, a bit on the residents and society, as well as what conflicts players might come across when visiting them. Then Paizo follows that up with a pretty useful overview map, an unstatted NPC, a slew of interesting locations to include in your game, and finally a new theme for players to use if they might be from the world in question. And they do this for each major location in the Pact World, so we get 14 overviews and new themes. The Sun, which gives us the Solar Disciple theme, Abalon and the Roboticist, Castrovel and the Wild Warren, Absalom Station and the Corporate Agent, Akaton and the Gladiator, Verces and the Cyberborn, Idari and the Tempered Pilgrim, Diaspora and the Space Pirate, Eox and the Death-Touched, Triaxis and the Dragon Blood, Liavara and the Dream Prophet, Brothetta and the Biotechnician, Aposte and the Xeno-Archaeologist, and finally, Octurne and the Cultist. Man, that was a mouthful. Next up, we have the Starship section. This section is pretty much exactly what you think it is, right? One very notable fact, though, is the introduction of biomechanical starships, as well as some cool new starship systems to go with them. Overall, we get 15 new fully statted out starships, 3 each for the Abalonian, Hell Knight, Eomedian, Versite, and the Xenowarden, which of course are biomechanical and follow along with our new biomechanical mechanics. There's really not a lot more to cover here in this section, so let's jump over to the NPCs. The supporting cast section is a very welcomed addition in my opinion, and it's basically like a tiny alien archive squeezed into the book. The section isn't very big, it's really only 14 pages. But in those 14 pages, we get 19 ready to go, statted out NPCs, sort of clustered up in the following themes of cultists, free captains, hell knights, mercenaries, security forces, and of course, street gangs. I love this section, and it feels very meaty and straight to the point. You get a cool new piece of art to kind of inspire you for each of these groups, and then 3 to 4 NPCs with varying CRs. It's simple, it works, and it's really good value. Okay, let's jump over to the last section of the book, the new player options. There's just a lot here in this section, and it is in fact the second biggest section behind the worlds. It starts off by giving us new archetypes to play with, and I sort of feel like we needed them pretty badly at this point. Overall, we get 6 new archetypes: the Arcanium Sage, Divine Champion, Skyfire Centurion, Star Knight, Starfinder Data Jockey, and Steward Officer. My favorite so far is the Skyfire Centurion. It basically lets you choose an ally and increases bonus when providing cover fire or when taking the encourage action. It lets you share feats with them. It lets you share attack rolls from certain ready actions in the right situation. And it, of course, lets you aid them in combat more easily. So if you're looking for a more unique roleplay experience with a more support character, I think that this archetype will do some pretty cool things for you. Next, we get some new feats as well, 8 to be exact. Close Combat, Divine Blessing, Extended Telepathy, Focus Spellcaster, which I can see getting some real use. A really great feat called Kasathan Battle Dance that improves the mobility in combat for Solarians particularly well. And then 3 stage magic feats, Stage Magic, Minor Stage Magic, and Major Stage Magic, which, to be honest, seem a bit underwhelming to me. After that, we get 12 full pages filled with new items, ranging from the mundane to magic and hybrid items. The most fun of which are the Pact World serums manufactured by Epro Enterprises. These are basically magical energy drinks, so there's that. Next up, we get 11 new spells with a fun little versatile spell called Junk Sword that lets you guessed it, create swords and weapons out of the junk around you. It's pretty cool. And finally, we get 6 new playable races as well. The Astrozoan, the Bantrid, the Boreas, the Kizar, the Sros, and the Strix, which, yes, do in fact have a fly speed. So there's plenty here for players looking for a few cool new things to play around with and try out on their characters. So overall, I think that this is a really great book, especially after the kind of disappointing Alien Archive, at least in my opinion it was, that we got from the last major release. It comes in at a very hefty 215 pages compared to the Alien Archives, I think, I could be wrong, like 155 pages or so. So, you know, it's almost a third of an extra book bigger than that last release, and it has just a lot in it. It's got some really great stuff for players. It's got some really great stuff on the actual core setting, and the information presented within is really just kind of just solid information. It gives you exactly as much as you would want when you are learning more about the Pact Worlds. It doesn't just overload you, but it doesn't just kind of skim out either. It's a very, very well done book, in my opinion. Now, the big question is do I recommend it? Should you actually buy it? Is it worth the investment to pick this book up? And I think that answer kind of depends on you and your group, of course, whether you guys are a game master that is playing in the core setting, you want to learn more about the core setting. This book is almost a must-have, I would say, for those types of game masters who really want to dive headfirst into the Pact Worlds. This is a setting book. It's presenting the core setting. So if you're spending a lot of time in that core setting, then yes, of course, I think that this book is very, very, very solid and will definitely have very usable things, which is very important to me when I'm considering buying a book. It'll have very usable things to actually include inside your game. So it's got a lot of value for you, in my opinion. On the flip side of that, if you are a player, and again, if you're playing heavily in the core settings of the Pact Worlds and you want to know more about the actual core setting itself, I think this is a really great book. If you're buying it just for the new player options, it's an okay book. It's still got some really cool stuff in it, and it's definitely got some inspiration for you, and of course, new archetypes and themes for you to use as actual player options, and of course, even some more items for you. But I would say that if you're only a player and you're not playing heavily in the core setting, or you don't really care to know much about it, then maybe one of these books, maybe 2 of these books for an entire group would be fine. I might even just say 1 book for an entire group would probably be plenty. So if you guys want to kind of band together and pick one up to kind of share amongst your friends, then that certainly would be something that I think you wouldn't have any buyer's remorse for it, and I think you would get you would feel happy with your purchase of Pact Worlds. If you guys want to check out Pact Worlds for yourself or pick up your own copy, I will put a link to it down in the description below where you can do just that. And let me know what you guys think. If you are a player that already has Pact Worlds and you've already had some time to kind of sit with it and digest over the material, let us know. Did you like the book? Do you think it's a good value? Leave some comments down below to maybe help out other people that are still kind of on the fence on whether or not they want to pick it up or whether or not it's right for their table. I, of course, want to give a huge thank you to all of the kick-ass patrons over at WelcomeAdventures.com. It's because of you guys that I can keep making content like this, and for that, I really appreciate it. If you guys like what I do here, you want to see more content like this, head over to WelcomeAdventures.com, where you can pick up some rewards for yourself and help out the channel. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.